I just bought 3 books on boredom the other day. So now I'm really interested in this topic because I was anxious about my book launch happening this week. So I was like, okay, I need something else. So I have this idea for I might do it as an article first, but as a book. Like, okay, I need something cool to be thinking about because I was worried about, like, I don't know, is the launch going to work? The pandemic, what's going to happen? I don't know if it's going to get to that. So this is exactly what we're talking about. So I went out and I bought a bunch of books, and I'm beginning like a whole sort of intellectual exploration.
Well, I think that's one of the profound ideas in deep work that you don't expand on too much is boredom.
Yeah. Well, so deep work had a superficial idea about boredom, which was, I had this chapter called Embrace Boredom, and a very functionalist idea was basically you have to have some boredom in your regular schedule, or your mind is going to form a Pavlovian connection between as soon as I feel boredom, I get stimuli. And once it forms that connection, it's never going to tolerate deep work. So there's this very pragmatic treatment of boredom of your mind better be used to the idea that sometimes you don't get stimuli because otherwise you can't write for 3 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just not going to tolerate it. But more recently, what I'm really interested in boredom is it as a fundamental human drive, right? Because it's incredibly uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And think about the other things that are incredibly uncomfortable, like hunger or thirst. They serve a really important purpose for our species, right? Like if something is really distressing, there's a reason. Pain is really uncomfortable because we need to worry about getting injured. Thirst is really uncomfortable because we need water to survive. So what's boredom? Why is that uncomfortable? And I've been interested in this notion that boredom is about driving us towards productive action. Like as a species, I mean, think about it. Like what got us to actually take advantage of these brains? What got us to actually work with fire? What got us to start shaping stones into hand axes and figuring out if we could actually sharpen a stick sharp enough that we could throw it as a melee weapon or a distance weapon for hunting mammoth, right? Boredom drives us towards action. Mm-hmm. So now I'm fascinated by this fundamental action instinct because I have this theory that I'm working on that we're out of sync with it. Just like we have this drive for hunger, but then we introduced junk food and got out of sync with hunger and it makes us really unhealthy. We have this drive towards action, but then we overload ourselves and we have all of these distractions. And then that causes, it's like a cognitive action obesity type things because it short circuits this system that wants us to do things, but we put more things on our plate than we can possibly do. And then we're really frustrated we can't do them. And we're short circuiting all of our wires. So it all comes back to this question, well, what would be the ideal sort of amount of stuff to do and type of things to do? Mm-hmm. Like if we wanted to look back at our ancestral environment and say, if I could just build from scratch how much work I do and what I work on to be as in touch with that as like paleo people are trying to get their diets in touch with that. And so now it's something I made up.
Yeah.
But now I'm going deep on it. And one of my podcast listeners, I was talking about it on the show, and I was like, well, I'm trying to learn about animals and boredom. And she sent me this cool article from an animal behavioralist journal about what we know about human boredom versus animal boredom. So trying to figure out that puzzle is the wave that's high, so I can get through the wave that's low of like, I don't know about this pandemic book launch, and and my research, my research is stumbling a little bit because of the pandemic, and so I needed a nice high. So there we go. There's a case study.
Well, it's both a case study and a very interesting set of concepts because I didn't even realize that it's so simple. I'm one of the people that has a interesting push and pull dynamic with hunger, trying to understand the hunger with myself. Like I probably have an unhealthy relationship with food. I don't know. But there's probably that's a nice way to think about diet as action. There's probably an optimal diet response to the experience that our body's telling us, the signal that our body's sending, which is hunger.
Yeah.
And in that same way, boredom is sending a signal, and most of our intellectual activities in this world, our creative activities, are essentially a response to that signal.
Yeah. And think about this analogy that we have this hunger instinct that junk food short circuits.
Yes.
Right. It's like, oh, well, we'll satisfy that hyper palatably and it doesn't end up well. Now think about modern attention engineered, digitally mediated entertainment. We have this boredom instinct. Oh, we can take care of that with a hyper palatable alternative. Is that going to lead to a similar problem?
So I've been fasting a lot lately. Like I'm doing eating once a day. I've been doing that for over a month. just eating one meal a day and primarily meat. But it's very fasting has been incredible for me, for focus, for well-being, for feel. I don't know, just for feeling good. Okay, we'll put on a chart what makes me feel good, and that fasting and eating primarily a meat-based diet makes me feel really good.
Hmm.
And so, but that ultimately, what fasting did, I haven't fasted super long yet, like a 7-day diet, which I really like to do. But even just fasting for a day, for 24 hours, gets you in touch with with the signal. It's fascinating. Like you get to learn to listen to your body that like, it's okay to be hungry. It's like a little signal that sends you
Yeah.
stuff. And then I get to listen to how it responds when I put food in my body. Like, and I get to like, oh, okay, cool. So like food is a thing that pacifies the signal. Like it sounds ridiculous. Okay.
No,
You could do that with,
and do different types of food. It feels different. So you
it feels
learn
very
about what your
different.
body
Yeah.
wants.
For some reason, fasting, it's similar to the deep work, embrace boredom. Fasting allowed me to go into mode of listening, of trying to understand the signal, that I could say, I have an unhealthy appreciation of fruit. Okay. I love apples and cherries. Like I don't know how to moderate them. So if you take just same amount of calories, I don't know, calories matter, but they say calories, 2,000 calories of cherries versus 2,000 calories of steak. If I eat 2,000 calories of steak, maybe with just a little bit of like green beans or cauliflower, I'm going to feel really good, fulfilled, focused, and happy.
Yeah.
If I eat cherries, I'm going to wake up behind a dumpster crying with like naked and like it's just,
Pits all around.
yeah, with
over your
everything.
face. Yeah.
And it's just like bloated, just not, and unhappy. And also the mood swings up and down. I don't know. And I'll be much hungrier the next day. Sometimes it takes a couple of days, but
Yeah.
when I introduce carbs into the system, too many carbs, it's just unhealthy. I go into this roller coaster as opposed to a calm boat ride along the river in the Amazon or something like that.
Yeah.
And so fasting was the mechanism for me to start listening to the body. I wonder if you can do that same kind of, I guess that's what meditation a little bit is.
A little bit, but yeah, listen to boredom.